Hello friends, in this episode I give you 10 recommendations for gifts for your woodworker. Stay tuned! Now, as a caveat, all of the recommendations that I'm making today are tools that I already have in my shop, and I primarily use power tools. So I'm not going to be recommending particular kinds of hand tools or planes. I just don't use them at this point in my life, so I'm not going to recommend something that I don't use. Also, I'm not recommending big, expensive tools that are multiple $1,000s in general because I don't have those. You know, it would be great to recommend like a domino by Festool, but I don't have it, so not going to recommend it. With that, let's get started. Measuring tools make great gifts. For the longest time, I had just two measuring tools. Can you guess which ones I had? I had a tape measure, and I went through a couple different kinds. Ultimately, I found one that worked for me. You know, tape measurers can be flat, they can go out and they can stay by themselves, they can be super thick, super thin, all sorts of different varieties. I finally found this one from my local True Value, Kits and File in Oshkosh, and I loved it. Anyways, and then I had my square. This has gone through thick and thin. You can see I've nicked out pieces on the saw or with a drill and made a hole, all sorts of good stuff. Ultimately, you just need something with which to measure. You know, place markers in metric or imperial standards. You can, of course, go fancy and you can get some digital electronics like this angle gauge, my depth gauge, my calipers, the bevel gauge. Those are all tools that help. They're not necessary, but they definitely do help and make woodworking quicker, and they make for excellent stocking stuffers. Consider some clothes for your woodworker. Oftentimes you'll see me wearing two things in my shop. I've got this bib, which I got from Duluth Trading Company maybe 3 years ago now. I had to get it online at their website. They don't sell it on Amazon, unfortunately. But it's really handy. This bib in particular has got a couple different pockets. In fact, this still has some 1 5/8 inch screws from the last thing that I was working on. Usually I keep a couple measuring tools and a pencil up here, and it's got a nice clipping system. It goes over the shoulders, and this one actually clips in the back. Oftentimes I'll feed this back loop through the loop in my pants, and it really keeps things nice and snug. And of course, I look awesome doing it. But the other thing, I wear this black shirt. Now this is a neoprene North Face, and I can't remember exactly where I got it. It had a couple marks on it when it came to me, so I thought, well, this shouldn't be an out and about item, but it was perfect for my workshop. And dust tends not to cling to it for the long term, which is really handy. I can throw it over whatever I'm wearing, get dirty in the shop, take it off, and then something like my work sweater doesn't get dirty. So guys, you'll be doing your spouses a favor if they're the primary laundry doers, like my wife is in this house. It's nice not to get things dirty to the best of your extent. So get your woodworker some clothes and they'll be happy campers. Now here's a tool that I've really come to love and respect. It's my chop saw, or miter saw as you would. This is a compound miter saw, which means I can make straight down angles, I can turn it left and right, and I can also adjust. There's a lever in the back. I can adjust the bevel so this can come down at an angle like this. I'm not going to undo it because I've got it perfectly positioned now. But this is actually the second chop saw that I had a long time ago, probably 15 years. I got a very small one. The whole thing was about this big, and it had a 4-inch saw on it. It was just enough to do 2x4s basically, and I got a lot of use out of it. In fact, I still have it, and I use it primarily outside when I'm cutting down large pieces of tree that have fallen for firewood. But I've been flabbergasted how much use I've gotten out of this in the past year and a half. In fact, this is going to be living at our build site. For the next 2 months, I'm going to help build the set for my wife's musical the second week of February. And this is going to be cutting all sorts of things, 2x6s, 2x8s, long 1x material, all sorts of stuff. I cannot believe how much use I truly get out of it. And this one is very quiet. Now these have a nice protective sheath around the blade that you can see descends just to the working piece to protect you here. If you do go out and get one, I recommend getting one with a laser. Let's see if you can sort of see that laser on my hand. It's a little hard with this camera angle, but either way, if you're looking for one big gift this year, these can run anywhere from 120 to 200 bucks, and they're very useful. If you're looking for some relatively inexpensive items for your woodworker that have a lot of bang for their buck, definitely consider personal protective equipment. I talk about PPE a lot, having come from the medical field once upon a time. I cannot stress enough how important it is to protect yourself. Remember, you only get 10 digits, 2 eyes, 2 ears. So, 2 lungs, as it were. You see me wear my RZ Industries masks. In fact, RZ was kind enough to sponsor my Jigs and Sleds series because I truly value the protection of my lungs. I'm kind of an asthmatic a little bit. I cough easily when there's particulate matter in the air, and these are the best reusable masks that I've ever seen. They've got filters on the inside that are easy replaceable, and these are incredibly comfortable. You see me with my whole rig. Wearing these with my goggles. I've got probably 3 sets of goggles in my shop when I have guests, but I've had these particular pair for about 6 years. I like that they wrap around. That's just nice for me. Find something that works for you. Of course, I've got hearing protection. These are 3M Tech. I think they're rated up to 27 or 29 decibels. I forget off the top of my head, but it's a very good rating. I like this whole over-the-ear protective feeling as opposed to something sticking in my ear. Personal preference. These will run you about $30, but they'll last a lifetime. And then, of course, when you're hauling lumber or anything, it pays to have a good pair of gloves. These are also really useful, I found, when I'm working with OSB in my shop because that tends to splinter a lot. Again, all of these will run you anywhere from $15 to $35. They make great stocking stuffers. Put them in a shoebox all together. Do whatever you want. Great gifts. One of 2 things a woodworker will always mention is they could always use more clamps. There's that old adage for woodworking, and it pretty much is true. I've got an assortment of clamps that I've gathered throughout the years. This didn't just happen overnight, so like I said, it pays to build every birthday and holiday time, a clamp or 2 here and there. You'll probably find them on sale now if you're going and doing holiday shopping. Anyways, a couple different kinds. I tend to use these quick clamps a lot. These are made by Irwin, but I've seen them in different things. Jorgensen, for example, has some good ones. I just like the trigger action. Works really well for my hands. Then there are the purists who insist on your standard clamps. So these move like so, and of course you can tighten them with this on the bottom. They come in all sorts of sizes. I most commonly use things that are anywhere from 6 to 18 inches. But I do have some bigger ones. Now on the back of my stand here, I've got a couple Bessies, and these go, I believe, looks like up to 2.5 feet. They're probably 30 inches if I had to guess just off the top of my head. I could probably use some more, but you could get pipe clamps for that. Basically, it's a simple pipe, and there are attachments on the end, and you can use them on all sorts of length of pipe. Very handy. Lots of woodworkers use it. Either way, get yourself some clamps, and your woodworker will be a happy clamper. Glue is the other thing that woodworkers never have enough of. I go through one of these great big things of Titebond 2. What is this? Let's see. 3.785 liters. I go through this probably twice a year, once every 8 months or so now. But that has increased over time. Once upon a time, I never would have used that much glue. That's neither here nor there. Aside from glue, there are, of course, applicators that you can get. These are my GlueBot bottles. They're great, but like any bottle, over time, if you don't cap them properly, they'll gunk up at the end. But these are super handy. You load them down here and you squeeze it and the glue just comes out the top, so it's easier for pointing and gluing against gravity, so to speak. There is more than just wood glue. Of course, you can get yourself some spray adhesive if you're the kind of person who likes to have patterns, spray them and attach them to wood and cut things out in the bandsaw like that. If you want, there are things like Gorilla Glue. I tend to use this less now because it expands, but it still does have its applications. And of course, CA glue, super glue. I've been using that a lot lately. So much, in fact, that I don't have any to show you right here because I ran out and I need to get myself some more. So you can either get straight up CA glue that just, stick it on there and then you attach your piece and that's fine. Or you can get more specialized kinds that come in varying thicknesses and you apply it, then you can add some activator on the other piece and they put together and they stick almost instantly. So there's a lot in the glue world, come to find out. And don't forget, you can always get these little accessories. This is one of these little bench dogs. I've seen them made by Triton and Festool and all sorts of things, but it's a brush on one end, a scraper on another. I also use scrap pieces of wood or like those old credit cards that come in fake advertisements, to scrape glue along a board. So consider things like that. Be creative, but yeah, glue, it's a good stuff. I tend to use Titebond 2. It's waterproof, it's affordable, and it's high quality. All right, if you really want to give a sizable gift, consider your battery combo, as I'm going to call it. Once you get a power tool like a driver, for example, you're pretty much married to that brand for a long time because everybody has proprietary batteries that are interchangeable amongst themselves, but not in different product lines. So like I can't use this Hitachi in a DeWalt or a Black & Decker or a Festool or something like that. I ended up getting Hitachi once upon a time, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Still perfect for me. This is 18-volt lithium-ion battery. Once upon a time when I was still doing product reviews on this channel, I actually did one for the driver and drill combo, so you can check that out. Lots of great information there. You know, around the holiday times, you'll see older models of these going in bulk. You can find them on Amazon. You can find them in your store for very affordable prices. I have seen combinations with drill driver, reciprocating saw, and maybe a light or an extra set of batteries or a jigsaw like I have up here going from anywhere from $200 to $300. Now, yes, that's a lot of money, but for 4 tools and a couple batteries plus a carrying case, that's very affordable. And remember, these are long-term tools. A shop isn't built in a day. You know, you acquire things over time. These have been great gifts. My Hitachi products have been gifts to myself. You know, that being said, but I was gifted things prior to that which spurned my, well, not, didn't spurn my love, it spurred my love. It made me even more fall in love. Wow, I can't talk. It made me fall in love even more with these kind of cordless power tools. So get something and try it out. Aside from the driver that we can see here, it's a little bit hard to see, I know, but this makes for great video, doesn't it? This is my reciprocating saw. You don't see me using it a whole lot. I think the last time I used it was probably when I did those fence doors for my mother, but I'm going to be getting a lot of use out of this for my set build for my wife's musical coming up the next 2 months. You never know when you need a blade that sticks out like this that you can just get something at. It's a very useful tool. And of course, my jigsaw up here, you see me using this plenty of times, very handy. Of course, you can get corded models of all of these if you want to. That'll be less expensive, but I happen to love the portability. And I have a history with cords, at least a half a dozen times when I have cut a cord. Oftentimes it's been with something like a weed whacker outside, but I have cut the cord of my power tools while using them when I was less experienced. Of course, that's dangerous, and I didn't mean to do it, but it can happen. But it can't happen when you're using a battery-operated tool. So, food for thought. All right, now I can't do a shop tools video without talking about a table saw. Yep, that's right. It's my #1 choice in my shop. It seems like 90% of my projects start and are primarily done with the table saw. And when I was a kid, I was so afraid of this. I had a much smaller table saw. I think it was probably about 150 bucks. I think it was a Craftsman. In fact, it was a Craftsman. It was a shop series. And it was more of a contractor saw, like a job site saw, so it was a little bit louder, it was a little bit more wobbly, and that was just scary to me, so I didn't end up using it much. And then, when I started doing woodworking again 3 or 4 years ago, I did use it, and I got to love it, and I upgraded myself to this beauty. Now, I'm not saying go out and spend $500 or however much this model is anymore, but I love it. This is a hybrid saw. I did a review of this rigid table saw once upon a time. I can post a link for you to take and check it out. But table saws are just great. You know, something with a reliable fence, a great blade. This is so quiet. It's even got a brake inside of it when I turn it off, so you know, it calms down quickly. Of course, this bevels. This is expandable. In fact, in 2017, you're going to be seeing a couple different videos. I'm going to be taking out both of these panels and doing extensions. I think I'm going to be adding a permanent router table here and a special different kind of, let's call it workbench addition and clamping system over here. You'll see when we get it done with. Either way, it's a very versatile tool. If you really want a nice table saw, I do recommend these rigid ones. Or if you want to spend $2,000 or $3,000, you can get yourself a saw stop, you know, so you don't cut your fingers off. But now I'm just rambling. So that wraps things up. What kind of tools are you planning on getting for your woodworker in your life? Or what kind of tools are you really hoping that you're going to get? It's so exciting to talk tools around holidays and birthdays, isn't it? I just love it. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. I'm the Midwest Man Mountain. While you're here, be sure and subscribe. There's 150 videos. I'm sure you're bound to like something else. I've got a Patreon page too if you'd like to contribute directly to what you're seeing. Thanks a lot, and until next time, bye!